Vampire's Prey by Celeste King.
I don't know about you, Aeroth, but this ring seems to be causing quite the fuss.
It attracts chaos and greed. It breeds violence.
Yes, but it also influences the heart.
Are you saying you like what the ring is doing?
All I'm saying is that I don't think I'd mind if it chose me.
Well, I guess we'll just have to keep reading its story to find out.
And so will our listeners.
For more content on this mysterious artifact, check out the other stories in this series on our YouTube channel.
But for the uncut, ad-free content, you'll have to go to worldsofprothika.com. Use code YouTube30 for a 30% discount and bring yourself that much closer to knowing the truth.
Thank you for choosing Celeste King's Vampire's Prey.
Chapter 1. Saraphina. The chains dig into my wrists, cold metal biting into my skin as the auctioneer pulls me along. The crowd in Valoris swells with each step, their faces blurring into a sea of indifferent eyes. I focus on the cobblestones beneath my feet, counting each crack and crevice to distract myself. "Move along, slave," the auctioneer barks, giving the chain a sharp tug. I stumble forward, trying to keep my balance. A glint catches my eye, a flash of gold tumbling from the sky. It lands near a stack of crates. My heart skips a beat. No one else seems to notice. As we pass the crates, I bend down, pretending to trip. My fingers brush against something cold and smooth. A ring. I snatch it up and slip it into the folds of my ragged dress before anyone can see. "Get up!" The auctioneer yanks the chain again, nearly pulling me off my feet. I rise, clutching the hidden ring like a lifeline. We reach the auction block, and I'm shoved onto it, exposed under the glaring sun. The crowd murmurs, assessing me like livestock. "Lot number 32, the auctioneer announces, his voice oily and smug. A healthy young woman, strong and obedient. Bids start flying from all directions. I glance around nervously and feel the ring pressing against my skin through the thin fabric of my dress. Desperation claws at me. I can't go to another master. As a particularly rotund man raises his paddle for a final bid, I make my decision. With trembling fingers, I pull out the ring and slide it onto my finger. The energy from the ring spreads through my body, warm and electrifying. My vision sharpens, the crowd's noise fades to a distant hum. The chains around my wrists no longer feel like metal but more like paper. What's happening to me? I glance down at my hands. My skin, once marred by dirt and scars, now glows with an otherworldly radiance. My fingers, slender and elegant, move with newfound grace. I feel taller, stronger, invincible. The auctioneer's voice cuts through my thoughts. "Sold," he declares, pointing at the rotund man. I raise my hand, palm outstretched. Heat pulses in my veins, coalescing in my fingertips. A flame dances to life in my palm, its light flickering with dangerous beauty. "What sorcery is this?" the auctioneer stammers, eyes wide with fear. I step forward, the flame growing hotter and brighter. The crowd recoils, murmurs of shock and awe rippling through them. "Release me," I command, my voice ringing with authority. Two dark elf guards rush forward, their swords drawn. They're fast, trained warriors, but I am faster now. I flick my wrist, and the flame shoots out like a living thing. It engulfs the first guard in a blaze of fiery brilliance. His scream is brief, but his body turns to ash before he hits the ground. The second guard hesitates for a moment too long. I send another jet of fire his way. He tries to deflect it with his sword, but the blade melts under the intense heat. He too succumbs to the flames, his form disintegrating into nothingness. The auctioneer drops my chain and stumbles back, tripping over his own feet in his haste to escape. I stand tall on the auction block, flames still dancing at my fingertips. The crowd stares in stunned silence, a mix of fear and awe in their eyes. "Anyone else?" I ask, daring them to challenge me. No one moves, no one dares speak. Good. With a final glance at the smouldering remains of the guards, I step down from the block and walk through the parting crowd. The ring's warmth continues to pulse through me, a constant reminder of my newfound strength. The crowd parts before me, their murmurs a distant hum. Eyes wide, mouths agape, they see not a slave, but something else entirely. 2 guards stand at the edge of the square, their hands resting on their swords. I meet their gaze and walk toward them, my steps measured and deliberate. "Stop right there," one guard orders, his voice quivering despite his stern expression. I tilt my head, letting my newly radiant hair cascade over my shoulder. Is there a problem? My voice drips with honeyed charm, each word a caress. The guard falters, his eyes flickering over my transformed appearance. You can't leave." I take another step closer, close enough to see the sweat beading on his forehead. "But why would you want to stop me?" I whisper, my lips curving into a smile. His resolve crumbles like ash. The other guard tries to intervene. "She's dangerous, don't let her fool you." I turn my gaze to him, pouring all the enchantment I can muster into my eyes. "Dangerous? Surely not to someone as strong and capable as you." He blinks, his grip loosening on his sword. I place a hand on his arm, feeling the warmth of the ring pulse through my fingertips. "Please," I murmur, "let me pass." Both guards exchange glances, uncertainty written across their faces. They step aside almost in unison, clearing my path. "Thank you," I say softly, and walk past them with graceful strides. As I make my way through the narrow alleys of Valoris, other guards appear in my path. Each time, I weave a spell of words and charm around them, leaving them dazed and compliant in my wake. One guard stares at me with suspicion as I approach. "Halt, state your business." I let out a soft laugh, tilting my head just so. His resolve weakens visibly under my gaze. With a sigh that speaks of surrender more than defeat, he steps aside. The ring's warmth becomes a steady hum of energy within me as I continue to flee Valoris.
Chapter 2. Silvas. "Dead? All of them?" "Yes, Master Silvas. Burned to ash," the messenger says, his eyes wide, lips trembling. I lean back in my chair, tapping my fingers on the armrest. The smell of singed parchment lingers in the air from the last message delivered, a clear sign of a magical mishap, or something more deliberate. "Any witnesses?" "A few," he says. "They spoke of a woman, human, with a ring that—" "A ring?" I interrupt, my interest piqued. "Describe it." He swallows hard, his throat bobbing. "Golden with intricate carvings. It glowed when she wore it." I rise from my chair, crossing the room to the window that overlooks the caverns below. My eyes narrow as I sense the faint pulse of magic in the distance. The kind that shouldn't exist here. The kind that reeks of deception and power. "The ring of a Keldama," I murmur to myself. "Master," I turn to him, my decision made. "Prepare my Iku." "But it's dangerous. Now," I command. The messenger scurries away, leaving me alone with my thoughts. A human slave with the ring of the deceiver? How does such a thing happen? More importantly, why has it chosen her? The air vibrates with a familiar energy as I step out of my chambers and into the bustling halls of my estate. Vrakin and human servants alike scatter at my approach, their eyes cast downward in respect or fear. Perhaps both. As I make my way to the stables, I cannot help but wonder about this human woman. What kind of dangerous creature could kill dark elf guards with such ease? My curiosity burns as hot as the magic I feel emanating from her direction. "Master Silvas," one of my attendants greets me at the stable door, holding the reins to my Iku. "Send word to the council," I instruct him. "Inform them I'm pursuing a matter of great importance." "Yes, master." I mount my equu and urge it forward with a gentle nudge. The creature obeys without hesitation, sensing the urgency. It huffs out a breath out of his 4 nostrils before charging forward. The pulse of magic grows stronger as we ride through the darkened tunnels. It calls to me like a siren's song, pulling me toward its source. The magic trail the human woman leaves behind glows like embers in the night, each step a beacon to my senses. Valoris teems with life tonight, merchants shouting their wares, children darting through the crowds, the mingled scents of spices and sweat filling the air. All of it pales in comparison to the pulsating energy that beckons me forward. I dismount my equu and hand the reins to a stable boy, who takes them without a word. His eyes flicker with terror as I tower over his small frame. I smirk. Respect is earned through fear, after all. Now, where in the abyss did she go? I mutter to myself, scanning the bustling market. My gaze narrows as I spot a flicker of gold, a hint of magic that vanishes almost as soon as I notice it. The human stumbles into view, her movements erratic, eyes wide with panic. She clutches her hand to her chest, the ring on her finger gleaming ominously. Even from this distance I can sense her struggle, the magic within her warring for control. A burst of flame erupts from her hand, engulfing a nearby market stall. The wooden structure ignites instantly, flames licking hungrily at the goods displayed. The vendor shrieks in alarm, diving out of harm's way. Damn it! I curse under my breath. She's going to draw too much attention. I stride forward with purpose, pushing past bewildered onlookers who have gathered around the burning stall. The heat from the flames sears my skin even at a distance, but it's nothing compared to the firestorm brewing inside her. I can feel it from where I stand. She backs away from the burning stall, horror etched on her face. She raises her hand again as if to extinguish the flames, but another burst of fire shoots forth instead. Stop! I shout over the crackling inferno. You're only making it worse! Her eyes lock onto mine, dark pools of confusion and fear. She hesitates, then drops her hand to her side. The flames die down slightly but continue to smolder. Who are you? She demands, voice trembling. A friend, I lie smoothly. Let me help you. Her eyes dart around, assessing her options. She hesitates, then nods ever so slightly. Follow me, she whispers, her voice barely audible over the crackling remnants of the fire. We weave through the market, her presence a magnet for attention. Heads turn, eyes widen, and whispers ripple through the crowd like a wave. She stops in front of a merchant's stall laden with fabrics and food. Please, she says, her voice soft but commanding. I need clothes and something to eat. The merchant, an old man with a gray beard and shrewd eyes, narrows his gaze. I don't give away my goods for free. She steps closer, her beauty intensified by the ring's magic. Her eyes lock onto his, and I can almost see the moment his resolve weakens. Surely you can spare something for someone in need. Her tone drips with honeyed persuasion. The merchant blinks, then nods as if in a trance. Of course. Take whatever you need. She selects a dark cloak and a simple dress, her fingers grazing the fine fabric as if it were spun from moonlight. She reaches for a loaf of bread and some dried meat, placing them into a small sack that she also takes from the stall. Thank you, she says, her smile radiant enough to melt stone. The merchant stares at her, dazed. Anything for you? We move away from the stall, and she hands me the sack of food while she dons the cloak over her shoulders. The transformation is remarkable. She goes from desperate fugitive to enigmatic beauty in seconds. You've got quite the talent, I remark. Survival requires certain skills, she replies, eyes flashing with determination. As we continue through the market, I can't help but marvel at how easily she manipulates those around her. This woman, this human slave, is more than just a bearer of the ring of Akaldama. She's a force to be reckoned with, and I intend to harness that force for my own purposes.
Chapter 3. Saraphina. How did things go wrong so quickly? One moment, he's whispering sweet nothings into my ear, commending my talents. He asks for my name and compliments me swiftly. Next, he's trying to rip the ring from my fingers, nearly injuring me in the process. I know what I must do. I need to get away from him. I bolt down the alley, heart pounding like a war drum. My dress flutters behind me, a poor excuse for wings. The shadows cling to the narrow walls, giving me false hope of invisibility. I glance over my shoulder and see him, Silvas. His piercing eyes gleam in the dark, fixed on me like a hawk on its prey. "Saraphina," he calls, voice smooth as silk yet laced with iron. "You can't run forever." "Watch me," I snap back, desperation lacing my words. I reach the alley's dead end and whirl around, my breath catching in my throat. Silvas approaches, each step measured and deliberate, his eyes never leaving mine. He looks almost amused, a predatory smile playing on his lips. "Cornered like a pathetic Rodin," he muses, the words dripping with condescension. "Give me the ring." "Never," I spit, my voice trembling with defiance. My fingers tingle with latent power, but it's wild and unpredictable, like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. I can feel the ring's magic thrumming beneath my skin, a chaotic symphony of possibilities. Silvas smirks, taking another step closer, his demeanour calm and unyielding. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." His words sting because they're true. I barely understand the extent of the ring's power, and the thought terrifies me. But I'm not helpless. I summon the magic within me, feeling it course through my veins like molten fire, my determination hardening into steel. He raises an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "A show of lights won't save you." The alley seems to close in around us, the shadows deepening as my resolve solidifies. I won't let him take the ring, not when it's the only thing standing between me and the life I refuse to return to. The magic inside me flares brighter, and for a moment, I see a flicker of uncertainty in Silvas's eyes. The alley blazes with sudden brilliance as I unleash a blinding light from my hands. Silvas curses, shielding his eyes. I don't wait to see if it worked. I sprint past him, my escape route illuminated by the afterglow. I burst into the main street and blend into the crowd, heart still racing. My vision clears enough to spot an open doorway leading to another narrow path between buildings. I slip through the doorway and find myself in another alley, but this one isn't empty. Shadows loom as a group of thugs surrounds a nobleman, their laughter harsh and cruel. The flickering light from a nearby lantern casts eerie shapes on the walls, adding to the tension in the air. "Hand over your coin, or we'll take more than just your money," one thug sneers, brandishing a jagged blade. The nobleman, trembling and pale, clutches his purse to his chest, eyes wide with fear. I hesitate, my heart pounding, weighing my options. The nobleman cowers, his fine clothes dirtied and torn, a stark contrast to the opulence they once displayed. Without a second thought, I step forward, my heart pounding but my resolve unwavering. "Leave him alone." My voice rings out, carrying more authority than I feel in my bones. The thugs whip around to face me, surprise etched deeply into their rough features. One of them, a brute with a scar running down his cheek, grins wickedly, his eyes gleaming with malice. "And who might you be? Another victim?" he taunts, his voice dripping with contempt. "I said leave him alone." This time, I channel a sliver of my newfound magic into my words, letting the power seep through my voice. The air around me hums with energy, and I hope it's enough to make them think twice about crossing me. The thug lunges, but I raise my hand and unleash a wave of force. He crashes into the opposite wall with a satisfying thud, slumping unconscious. The other thugs hesitate, eyes wide with fear and awe. "You want to try your luck too?" I ask, letting more magic spark from my fingertips. They scatter like startled rodents, leaving the nobleman trembling but safe. He looks up at me with a mixture of gratitude and fear. "Thank you," he stammers. "Are you hurt? Lost? Please let me offer you refuge in my home. It's the least I can do." I glance around, heart still racing. Silvas must be close. I can almost feel his presence like a cold shadow creeping closer. "I can't," I reply, shaking my head. "But thank you." The nobleman's eyes widen with concern. "Are you sure? You look like you could use some rest." "I'm sure." My voice is firmer this time. "I have to go." I turn away from the nobleman and slip back into the crowd. My senses are on high alert, every fibre of my being aware of Silvas's pursuit. I need to keep moving, stay ahead. As I weave through the bustling streets, a whisper brushes against my mind, sending a shiver down my spine. It's the ring, its sentience making itself known once more. "He's closer than you think," it murmurs. I quicken my pace, eyes scanning for any sign of him. Then I see it, a shadowy figure moving with purpose through the throng of people. Silvas. I duck into another alleyway, heart pounding anew. My magic feels volatile under my skin, like a caged beast ready to break free at any moment. "Saraphina." His voice echoes down the narrow passageway, a haunting reminder of the danger that stalks me. "Running won't save you." I grit my teeth and push forward, determination and fear fueling every step. I can't let him catch me, not now, not ever. The thought of his hands on the ring, of his control over me propels me faster. Just keep running, I tell myself, heart pounding in my ears. The ring hums against my finger, its magic and nervous energy coursing through me. There's no room for error.
Chapter 4. Silvas. The air thrums with her lingering magic. I follow her scent, a delicate blend of fear and power, through the bustling streets of Valoris. The marketplace still buzzes with life, unaware of the chase unfolding. A sudden burst of light in the distance catches my eye. Saraphina, using her magic again. She bolts through the crowd, a flash of wild beauty and raw power. She veers toward the stables, her desperation palpable. I push through the throng, my enhanced speed allowing me to close the gap. She mounts an equu with an awkward grace, urgency driving her movements. I watch as she kicks the equu into a gallop, its hooves loudly pounding against the cobblestones. The scent of fear grows stronger. She knows I'm coming. "Running won't save you," I mutter under my breath. I reach the stables moments after she leaves. The stable boy stares at me, wide-eyed and trembling. As much as I want to shove him into the nearest pile of equu shit for standing in my way, I refrain. There's no time to waste. I don't need a horse, my Vrakan abilities suffice. I sprint after her, my senses honing in on her scent, wildflowers mingled with something darker, more intoxicating. The city gates loom ahead, guarded but easily bypassed with a burst of speed and charm. I catch glimpses of her through the trees lining the road leading out of Valoris. The farmlands spread out before me, fields of grain swaying in the breeze. Saraphina rides hard, but she's no match for my endurance. Her trail is easy to follow. Bent stalks and hoofprints mark her path. Her magic leaves traces in the air, sparks that dance on my skin like lightning bolts. The ring's power pulses with each beat of her heart. It calls to me, as does she. I quicken my pace, feeling the thrill of the hunt surge through me. She can't escape. Not from me. The farmhouse stands alone amidst the sprawling fields, its windows glowing warmly against the twilight. I sense her magic, faint but unmistakable, leading me here. She's close, very close. I approach the door, knocking firmly. An elderly woman answers, her eyes widening at the sight of me. "Good evening," I say, voice smooth and unthreatening. "I'm looking for a young woman who may have passed through here." "No one's come by," she replies, but her voice wavers. Are you sure? She's quite striking. Dark hair, pale skin, eyes like embers. I lean in slightly, letting my gaze hold hers. The woman swallows hard. No, sir. No one like that. Thank you, I say, stepping back. If you see her, do let me know. I hand her an IPA. Her hand trembles as she takes it. Turning away from the farmhouse, I catch a glimpse of movement from the corner of my eye, a flicker of shadow behind a barn. I stride toward it, senses alert. Behind the barn, a young human man hunches over a pile of firewood, splitting logs with quick, nervous swings. You there, I call out. Have you seen anyone unusual around? He glances up, eyes wide with fear. No, sir, he stammers. Just me and my family here. I narrow my eyes. And your family includes my mother and sisters. He avoids my gaze. Sisters? My interest peaks. How many? 2, he says quickly. Where are they now? Inside, preparing supper. The tension in his voice tells me he's hiding something, or someone. I let out a sigh. Very well. But if you see anyone suspicious, do let me know. I'd hate to see something happen to your family if you keep secrets from me. Yes, sir. He nods eagerly. Stepping back onto the road, I continue my search through neighboring farms and homes. Each encounter brings me tantalizingly close, but never quite there. The locals speak in hushed tones when they see me approach. Their eyes dart toward their doors as if guarding secrets within. A young girl in a nearby field catches my attention next. Have you seen a stranger? I ask her softly. She shakes her head but glances toward the same farmhouse again before scampering off. My patience thins, but my resolve hardens. Saraphina cannot elude me forever. Her magic binds us more than she knows. I circle the farmhouse, eyes scanning every shadow, every flicker of movement. Her magic pulses faintly, leading me to a barn door ajar. Inside, I see her. Saraphina, crouched low, eyes wide with panic. She stands slowly, the air around her shimmering with power. Leave them out of this, she says, voice trembling but firm. You've endangered them by coming here, I reply, stepping closer. Running only brings more harm. She hesitates, guilt flashing across her face. I never wanted this. All I did was pick up this ring, but... She whispers. Then stop running. My gaze locks onto hers. Come with me. Her eyes narrow. And be your prisoner? No, I say, annoyed by her insolence. But we can help each other. She shakes her head, taking a step back. I don't trust you. That doesn't matter. I take another step forward. You can't keep hiding from me. I'll always find you, and I'll kill anyone who stands in my way. A noise from outside, footsteps, hushed voices, makes her flinch. She looks toward the sound, then back at me, torn. Please, she says again, desperation creeping into her voice. I hold her gaze for a moment longer before nodding. So be it. Go. She blinks in surprise but doesn't hesitate. Turning on her heel, she bolts out of the barn and across the fields. I watch her go, my resolve hardening. This chase won't end until she understands what we both need. But for now, I let her run.
Chapter 5. Saraphina. A twig snaps behind me. I whirl around, but it's too late. A rough hand clamps over my mouth, dragging me into the dense underbrush. The scent of sweat and ale fills my nose as I struggle against the iron grip. Quiet, pretty thing. A gravelly voice hisses in my ear. Don't want to hurt you... much. I bite down hard on the hand, tasting blood. He yelps and releases me just enough for me to scream. Screw you! Another bandit lunges forward, slamming the hilt of his dagger into my stomach. Pain explodes through my abdomen, and I double over, gasping for breath. Shut her up, the first bandit orders. I reach for the ring's power, but panic muddles my thoughts. My vision blurs as another blow sends me sprawling into the dirt. Leaves crunch beneath me as I struggle to rise. A sudden gust of wind whips through the forest, carrying a voice like dark velvet. Step away from her. The bandits freeze, their eyes darting toward the source of the voice. Silvas emerges from the shadows, his eyes glowing with a dangerous light. Who's this? One of them sneers, though his voice wavers. Silvas doesn't answer. Instead, he moves like lightning. His blade flashes, and the first bandit crumples to the ground, lifeless. The others scramble back in fear. Run! One shouts, but Silvas is already upon him. With a swift motion, he slashes across the man's throat. Blood sprays across the forest floor as he falls. The remaining 2 bandits turn to flee, but Silvas raises a hand. Shadows ripple from his fingertips, wrapping around their ankles and yanking them to the ground. They scream as dark tendrils constrict tighter. Mercy! One of them pleads. Silvas's eyes narrow. Did you show her mercy? With a final twist of his wrist, the shadows tighten until there is only silence. I stagger to my feet, clutching my aching side. Silvas steps toward me, something akin to concern softening his features. You're hurt, he says quietly. I'll live. I manage through gritted teeth. Thanks to you. Silvas's expression darkens slightly before he nods. Stay close from now on. Not like I have much choice, I mutter under my breath, but fall in step beside him anyway. Silvas and I push through the forest, each step feeling heavier than the last. The air thickens with the scent of bark and damp soil, mingling with a sense of impending danger. A low growl vibrates through the ground beneath us, causing us both to halt. Did you hear that? I whisper, eyes darting around. Yes, Silvas replies, drawing his sword. Stay close. Another growl, louder this time. Shadows flicker at the edge of my vision. Then they emerge, a pack of wild batlaz, their eyes glowing with feral hunger. Great, just what we need, I mutter. Ready yourself, Silvas says, positioning himself between me and the advancing pack. The beasts snarl and lunge. Silvas meets them head-on, his sword a blur of silver in the dim light. I watch him fend off 2 of them with ease, but more keep coming. One beast leaps towards me, its claws outstretched. I raise my hand instinctively. A barrier of shimmering light forms around me just as the beast slams into it. It howls in frustration, clawing at the magical shield. Silvas glances back at me. Nice trick. Focus on not dying, I retort. He laughs, even as he slashes through another beast. Fair point. More beasts circle us, their growls filling the air like a dark symphony. I pour more energy into the barrier, feeling it pulse and hum under my control. Each strike against it sends vibrations up my arm, but it holds firm. Silvas! I shout as 2 more beasts rush him from opposite sides. He spins, his blade catching one beast in mid-air while he kicks the other aside. Blood splatters across the ground as he finishes them both with swift precision. Keep that barrier strong, he says between breaths. I'm trying! My voice strains with effort as another beast crashes into the shield. Silvas fights on, his movements fluid and lethal. The beasts seem endless, but he shows no sign of tiring. His focus is absolute, every strike deliberate and deadly. The last beast lunges at him from behind. Silvas! He pivots just in time, driving his sword through its heart. It collapses with a final whimper at his feet. Breathing heavily, Silvas wipes the batlaz blood from his face as he turns to me. You did well. I lower the barrier slowly, feeling exhaustion wash over me. Thank you. Silvas and I stand in the clearing, the bodies of the beasts strewn around us. The forest grows silent again, as if holding its breath. My chest heaves, the effort of maintaining the barrier taking its toll. I meet Silvas's gaze and see a flicker of respect there. He chuckles as he sheathes his sword. Not bad for someone who couldn't control her magic back in the city. I bristle at his comment but let it slide. He's right, after all. My control has improved, and part of that is because of him. Reluctantly, I find myself feeling grateful. I glance at the fallen beasts, their lifeless eyes staring into nothingness. We should move before more of these things show up. Good idea. He offers his hand to help me up from where I've slumped against a tree. I hesitate for a moment before taking it. His grip is firm and steady, a stark contrast to the chaos we've just faced. As I rise to my feet, our eyes lock again, and an unspoken understanding passes between us. Thank you, I say quietly, feeling the weight of the words. For what? He arches an eyebrow. For saving my life. Again. He tilts his head slightly, considering me. You've given me no other choice. Chapter 6. Saraphina. The storm hits with little warning. Dark clouds gather overhead, blotting out the moonlight. Thunder rumbles ominously, and the first fat drops of rain splatter against my face. Within moments, the downpour turns into a torrent, soaking us both to the bone. Damn! We need shelter! Silvas shouts over the roar of the rain. I nod, teeth chattering. My clothes cling to my skin, heavy and uncomfortable. Silvas scans our surroundings and points toward a shadowy opening in a nearby rock face. Over there! We dash through the deluge, mud sucking at our boots with each step. By the time we reach the cave, we're drenched. The air inside is cool and dry, a stark contrast to the chaotic storm outside. Silvas wastes no time gathering kindling from the cave floor. He finds some flint and strikes it with practiced precision. Sparks fly, and soon a small fire crackles to life between us. I sit close to the flames, holding my hands out to absorb their warmth. You seem prepared for everything. He smirks, adding another piece of debris to the fire. Experience teaches you to be ready for anything. So why did you chase me? Through the city? I ask, unable to keep the curiosity from my voice. His expression darkens slightly, eyes reflecting the dancing flames. I had my reasons. And now, I press. Silvas meets my gaze, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. Now it's complicated. I huff a laugh, rubbing my arms as I try to dry off. That's an understatement. The fire's warmth seeps into my skin, easing the chill. I look at Silvas, his features softened by the flickering light. All of this is because of this ring, I ask, holding up my hand. He pauses, his eyes scanning my face. The ring holds ancient magic, powerful, dangerous. When I sensed it, I knew I had to find it. And that's why you haven't left me alone since. My voice is softer now, almost afraid of the response. Silvas leans back, running a hand through his wet hair. You are a mystery. You wore the ring and survived its transformation. Most would have perished. A shiver runs through me, not from the cold but from his words. So I'm just an anomaly to you? No, he says quickly, eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that makes my heart race. You're much more than that. Your strength, your courage. Damn, it's captivating. I swallow hard, a shiver coursing down my spine. So you're fascinated by me? He nods slowly. Yes. For a moment, silence stretches between us, filled only by the crackling fire and the storm's distant roar. What's the point of all of this then? I ask. It's because, he says, leaning closer, I can't let you fall into the wrong hands. The ring's power is too great. His proximity makes my breath hitch. The storm outside feels like a distant memory as I get lost in his gaze. Before I can second-guess myself, I lean in and press my lips to his. The kiss is impulsive, driven by a whirlwind of emotions I can't untangle. Fear, attraction, gratitude. As our lips connect, a spark ignites between us, and I feel a jolt of electricity run down my spine. Silvas's hands begin to roam my body, squeezing my arse with a hunger that matches my own. His touch is intoxicating, and I find myself melting into his embrace. Our tongues dance together, exploring each other's mouths with a sense of urgency. I can taste the salt on his lips from the sea air, and it only adds to the intensity of the moment. Silvas's fingers trace up my back, sending shivers down my spine. He tangles his hand in my hair, pulling me closer as our kiss deepens. I can feel his heart pounding against my chest, matching the rhythm of my own. Suddenly, Silvas's hand slips from my hair and begins to explore lower. He runs his fingers down my neck, tracing the curve of my breast and continuing down my stomach until he reaches the hem of my skirt. Not so fast. We have to send you to worldsofprathika.com for the unabridged version because this portion of the chapter is too hot for YouTube. Use code YouTube30 for fabulous savings on all the racy content. Now, back to our story. There isn't much left of the world after the orcs came.
Savage. Brutal. Merciless.
If you're a woman, you're property. Even to other humans.
What happens when an orc stakes his claim on a human woman? Who would dare to stop him?
Me.
Chapter 7. Silvas. Thunder cracks above us as the storm rages on. I watch Saraphina as she paces the cave, her brow furrowed in concentration. Her newfound power hums in the air, mingling with the scent of damp rock and burning wood. Saraphina, I begin, but she cuts me off. What now? Her voice is sharp, though not unkind. We have a bigger problem than you might think, I say. It won't be long until other Vraken hunt us both. She stops mid-step and turns to me, eyes wide. What do you mean? Why would they hunt you? The ring you wear, I say, pointing to her hand. Its magic is ancient and powerful. It draws attention, not just from me, but from others who seek its power. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? Her voice trembles, not with fear, but frustration. There wasn't time, I reply. We had to deal with the immediate threats first. She exhales, running a hand through her tangled hair. So what do we do now? We work together, I say, stepping closer to her. We evade capture and find a way to either harness the ring's power or rid ourselves of it. Her eyes meet mine, searching for sincerity. And why should I trust you? I smirk. Because, dear Saraphina, without me you'd already be dead. Or worse. Fine, she says after a moment's hesitation. But if you betray me, you'll incinerate me with your magical fire? I finish for her, raising an eyebrow. She narrows her eyes but nods. Exactly. Then we have an agreement. I extend my hand to her. She looks at it for a moment before grasping it firmly. The touch of her skin sends a jolt through me, an unfamiliar sensation that I push aside. First, I say, releasing her hand, we need to move. Staying in one place too long makes us easy targets. And where do we go? She asks. We head toward the mountains, I say. There are old tunnels there that haven't been used in ages. They wouldn't expect us to hide in a place so desolate. Rain pelts us as we leave the cave, the storm's fury relentless. Saraphina walks beside me, her shoulders squared against the wind. I sense a shift in her, a crack in the walls she's built around herself. "Silvas," she says, breaking the silence. "Why do you want the ring so much?" I glance at her, water dripping from my hair. "Power, of course. Isn't that what everyone wants?" She shakes her head, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Not everyone." Curiosity gets the better of me. "What about you? What do you want?" She hesitates, then sighs. "Freedom. I was a slave my entire life. This ring, it's my chance to be something more." I stop walking and face her, rain streaming down my face. "You have power now. You can make your own path." Her eyes meet mine. "It's not just about power for me," she says softly. "It's about being seen as more than just property." The vulnerability in her voice surprises me. I perk a brow. "And what would you do with this freedom?" She looks away, watching the rain-soaked landscape. "I'd travel. See the world beyond Valoris. Find a place where I can live without fear." "Ambitious," I say, though I mean it sincerely. Most humans accept their pitiful fate. She laughs, a sound that cuts through the storm like a bell. "Maybe so, but isn't it worth trying?" We resume walking, the silence between us now comfortable. "I've always dreamed of seeing the ocean," she says suddenly. "The ocean?" I ask, genuinely intrigued. She nods, eyes distant as if seeing it already. "My mother used to tell me stories about it, vast and endless, with waves that dance under the moonlight. What about you?" "Me?" I ask, somewhat bewildered by the question. "I've lived long enough to see many things." "Yet you still want more power." It's not a question, but an observation. "Power is survival," I say simply. We push through the forest, the storm a distant rumble behind us. The scent of wet leaves and soil fills the air. As we round a bend, voices reach my ears, harsh, guttural, and unmistakable. They sound like dark elves. I'd recognize those bastards anywhere. I signal to Saraphina and we creep closer. Through the foliage we see them, a group of dark elf slavers herding a chain of human captives. Their cruel laughter grates on my nerves. "Slavers," Saraphina whispers, her eyes narrowing. "They're transporting them to Valoris," I say. Mischief emerges from my words. "We could always sabotage their plans, can't we?" "Of course," she replies, fire igniting in her gaze. We move silently, positioning ourselves for an ambush. I catch Saraphina's eye and nod. She steps forward, raising her hands. A flicker of power dances around her fingers before erupting into a blinding flash of light. The dark elves cry out, shielding their eyes. I dart in, faster than their dulled senses can react, and take down the first guard with a swift strike to the neck. Saraphina follows close behind, her movements fluid and precise. She sends a wave of fire toward another slaver, forcing him to drop his whip and flee in terror. One of the dark elves lunges at her from the side. I intercept him, throwing him to the ground with enough force to crack bone. "Focus!" I yell at Saraphina. She nods and conjures a barrier around the captives, shielding them from harm as we deal with the remaining slavers. A particularly burly dark elf charges at me, brandishing a jagged blade. I parry his attack with ease and deliver a crushing blow to his temple. He crumples to the ground. The last slaver makes a desperate run for it, but is halted by Saraphina's outstretched hand. Vines sprout from the ground, entangling his legs and pulling him down. With the slavers subdued, we turn our attention to the captives. Saraphina dispels her barrier and rushes to them, checking for injuries and offering soothing words. Some of them cry helplessly, while others carry blank expressions as we approach. I watch Saraphina as she moves among them, her compassion evident in every gesture. She's more than just a weapon. She's becoming someone who can inspire hope. "You did well," I say as she approaches me again. She gives me a small smile as she offers me a shrug. The both of us did. Her control over her powers is growing stronger by the moment. Perhaps this alliance will prove more fruitful than I anticipated after all.
Chapter 8. Saraphina. The wind howls outside the cave, echoing through the stone walls like a chorus of ghosts. This is our temporary refuge as we make our way to the mountains. Silvas stands opposite me, his eyes bright with curiosity. "Focus, Saraphina," he says, voice steady. "You can't let your emotions control the magic." "I'm trying," I snap, frustration bubbling to the surface. "It's not as easy as you make it look." "Trying isn't enough," he counters, crossing his arms. "You need to do it." I take a deep breath, closing my eyes. I imagine the flame inside me, wild and untamed. I reach for it, feeling its warmth spread through my veins. The air around me crackles with energy. "Good," Silvas murmurs. "Now, direct it." I open my eyes and extend my hand. A small fireball appears, hovering above my palm. It flickers uncertainly before growing steadier. "See? You can do it." Silvas steps closer, determination etched across his face. "Only because you keep pushing me," I mutter, though I can't help but smile. Suddenly a growl rumbles from deeper within the cave. We both turn to see a pair of glowing eyes emerging from the darkness. "A cave beast," Silvas says grimly. His fists clench. "Get ready." I nod and let the fireball grow larger in my hand. Silvas draws his sword, its blade shimmering with enchantment. The beast, with matted fur and foam frothing from its mouth, lunges at us with surprising speed. I hurl the fireball at its chest, watching it explode in a burst of flames. The beast roars in pain but doesn't stop. Silvas leaps forward, slashing at the creature to slow it down. "Keep your distance and hit it again." I summon another fireball and launch it at the beast's head. This time it stumbles back, blinded by the flames. Silvas seizes the moment to plunge a blade through its heart. The beast collapses with a final groan. Breathing heavily, I lower my hand and let the remaining fire dissipate. Silvas sheathes his sword and turns to me, eyes filled with pride. "You're getting better," he says. "It's because of your training." I meet his gaze, feeling a warmth that has nothing to do with magic. We spend the next few days facing more challenges. Wild beasts, treacherous terrain, even more dark elf slavers. But each obstacle only brings us closer together. With every lesson Silvas teaches me about control, and every danger we overcome together, our bond grows stronger. We find an abandoned temple nestled deep within the forest, its stone pillars entwined with ivy and moss. The air inside feels thick with ancient magic, resonating through the empty hallways. Silvas and I explore in silence, our footsteps echoing against the worn stone floors. "This place feels alive," I whisper, running my fingers over a faded mural depicting gods and monsters. Silvas nods. "It's steeped in history. The perfect place to rest for the night." We set up a small camp near an altar, its surface smooth from centuries of offerings. The fire we build casts flickering shadows on the walls, creating an intimate cocoon of light amidst the darkness. As we sit side by side, a comfortable silence envelops us. I glance at Silvas, his profile illuminated by the firelight. There's a softness in his expression that I haven't seen before. "Thank you," I say, breaking the silence. "For everything." He turns to me, his dark eyes locking onto mine. "You don't need to thank me, Saraphina." "But I want to." My voice is barely a whisper now. Silvas reaches out, his hand gently cupping my cheek. His touch sends a shiver down my spine. Without thinking, I lean into his palm, closing my eyes. When his lips meet mine, it's not like before. This kiss is passionate and intense, as if he can't wait to devour me completely. He pulls me closer until I'm nestled against him, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Time seems to blur as we lose ourselves in each other. When we finally break apart, Silvas rests his forehead against mine. our breaths mingling in the cool air. "I've never felt this way before," he murmurs. "Neither have I admit, feeling vulnerable but safe in his arms. The peaceful moment shatters when I hear distant voices from outside the temple. Silvas tenses and stands up swiftly. "Stay here," he instructs before slipping into the shadows. Curiosity gets the better of me. I follow him quietly and hide behind a pillar near the entrance. "Have you found her?" a Vracken's voice asks. Silvas responds in a low tone that makes it hard to catch every word. "Not yet, but soon." A pit forms in my stomach as doubt floods my mind. What is the meaning of this? Who are these Vracken? Has Silvas deceived me? A chill runs down my spine. Silvas's words echo in my mind, twisting into something dark and sinister. Not yet, but soon. My heart races, pounding against my ribcage like a trapped bird. He's been leading me into a trap all along. I back away from the pillar, my mind spinning. I need to leave, now. Without a second thought, I sprint through a labyrinth of pillars and broken walls to find a separate exit of the temple, every muscle in my body screaming at me to move faster. "Saraphina?" Silvas' voice calls out from somewhere behind me, tinged with confusion and bouncing off the walls. I don't stop. I can't. The ring on my finger hums with energy as I channel its power, focusing on creating a diversion. With a flick of my wrist, I conjure a wall of shimmering light behind me, blocking his view and masking my escape. The forest outside is dense and shadowy, but I push through the underbrush, branches scratching at my skin and tearing at my clothes. Panic fuels my steps, and I feel the magic coursing through me like a second heartbeat. I call upon it again, this time to erase my tracks. Leaves rearrange themselves, dirt smooths over my footprints, nature bends to my will. "Saraphina!" Silvas' voice grows fainter as I weave through the trees. I can't believe I let myself trust him. My chest tightens with a mix of anger and betrayal. How could I have been so foolish?
Chapter 9. Silvas. I can feel her magic, a blazing trail through the ruins. She's made her way here after leading me through the forest. This abandoned city, once grand, now crumbles under nature's reclaiming grip. Vines strangle ancient columns. Shadows dance where light once ruled. Each step brings me closer to Saraphina, the scent of her power unmistakable. Rounding a corner, I spot her. She stands amidst the decay, hair wild, eyes aflame with raw energy. Her gaze locks onto mine, and for a moment, time halts. "You followed me," she breathes, accusation lacing her words. "I had to," I reply. "You left me without warning." The air crackles between us. Her hands ignite with shimmering fire, and I brace myself. "Stay back," she warns, but it's too late. Magic surges from her palms, a torrent of flame and fury. I dodge the initial blast, feeling the heat singe my skin. "Damn it! Saraphina, stop!" My voice struggles against the roar of her power. "No!" Her scream shatters the stillness. Another wave of magic hurtles toward me. I counter with a barrier of shadow, deflecting the assault. She's stronger than before, more controlled but also more desperate. "You betrayed me!" she spits. "I was trying to protect you," I counter, moving closer inch by inch. "Liar!" The ground trembles as her rage intensifies. Rocks lift from the ground and fly at me sporadically. I weave through them, my focus unbroken. Her face twists in anguish as she unleashes everything she has. A storm of elements, fire, ice, lightning, swirls around her in a chaotic dance. She's magnificent and terrifying all at once. I tap into my own abilities, shadows coiling around my form like living armor. "Saraphina!" My voice cuts through the maelstrom. "Listen to me." Her eyes flicker with uncertainty for a heartbeat before hardening again. A bolt of lightning streaks toward me. I absorb it into my shadows and redirect it back at her feet. I step forward cautiously, braced to dodge another attack at any second. Please, listen. I don't want to hurt you. Her magic wavers, a flicker of hesitation. I seize the moment. Shadows spring from my fingers, tendrils weaving through the air and wrapping around her wrists. She struggles, eyes wide with fury and confusion. But I hold firm. "Saraphina, stop!" I command. My voice carries authority, cutting through her chaos. She glares at me, her fiery hands straining against the shadows binding her. "Let me go." "Not until you listen." I take a step closer, careful not to provoke another outburst. "You misunderstood what you heard." Her eyes narrow, but she pauses, breath hitching in her throat. "I wasn't planning to betray you," I continue, my voice steady. "The other Vraken, I knew his intentions. He approached me, not the other way around. He wanted to capture you and take the ring for himself." She blinks, doubt flickering in her gaze. I made it seem as if I was working with him to gain his trust, so that he'd leave us alone. I never wanted harm to come to you. A tear slips down her cheek, cutting through the grime and sweat. "But why?" she whispers, the fight leaving her voice. "Because..." I hesitate, vulnerability creeping into my tone. "Because I've come to care for you more than I ever thought possible." Her eyes widen in surprise. The shadows holding her wrists loosen as my sincerity reaches her. "You... care for me?" Her voice is fragile now, soft as the wind. "Yes," I admit, stepping even closer until there's barely any space between us. "I didn't chase you just for the ring. I chased you because losing you terrified me." Saraphina's eyes, wide with a mix of confusion and realization, bore into mine. The storm in her gaze calms and her magic dims further. I take a step closer, the distance between us nearly non-existent now. "Silvas," she whispers, her voice trembling. "I don't know what to believe anymore." "Believe in us," I reply, my voice gentle yet firm. "Believe in what we've shared." Her breath hitches, and for a moment, the ruins around us fade away. It's just her and me, two souls caught in a web of magic and fate. You care for me," she repeats, as if needing to hear it again to believe it. "Yes," I say, reaching out to cup her cheek. My touch is hesitant at first, but when she doesn't pull away, I let my fingers linger on her skin. "More than anything..." She closes her eyes, leaning into my hand. The fire in her hands extinguishes completely, leaving only the warmth of our connection. "I thought you were like them," she admits softly. "I thought you wanted to use me." "I did," I confess, my thumb brushing away the tear on her cheek. "At first. But then... you changed everything." Her eyes flutter open and I see something new there. A spark of hope. "I've never felt this way before," she murmurs. "Not about anyone." "Neither have I. You make me want to be better, Saraphina." She takes a deep breath, as if steadying herself. Then she steps closer until our bodies almost touch. Her gaze holds mine with an intensity that makes my heart race. "I don't know how this will work," she says, voice barely above a whisper. "But I want to try." My heart swells with emotion I've never allowed myself to feel before. "So do I reply. For a moment we stand there in silence, the weight of our words settling around us like a protective cloak. The ruins no longer seem as desolate. Instead, they feel like the backdrop to something new and beautiful. Saraphina reaches up and touches my face, her fingers tracing the lines of my jaw with a tenderness that makes me ache. "I think I've fallen in love with you," she admits finally. Hearing those words from her lips feels like the sweetest victory I've ever known. Chapter 10. Silvas. A guttural snarl rips through the air as a group of Vraken and dark elves close in on us. Their eyes gleam with malevolence, and I know we're outnumbered. "Stay close," I say, my voice steady despite the chaos around us. She nods, her eyes blazing with determination. The ring on her finger pulses with power, but I see the doubt flickering in her gaze. The first Vraken lunges at me, his fangs bared. I sidestep his attack and slam a fist into his ribs, sending him sprawling. Saraphina raises her hands, and a torrent of fire erupts from her palms, engulfing a pair of dark elves who scream in agony. "Impressive," I murmur, catching a glimpse of her fierce expression. "No time for compliments," she retorts, hurling a bolt of lightning at another attacker. We move in sync, an unspoken understanding guiding our actions. Shadows swirl around me, forming tendrils that lash out at our foes. Saraphina's magic dances through the air like a living thing, elemental forces merging with my own dark power. A Vraken with wings swoops down, claws extended toward Saraphina. I intercept him mid-air, wrestling him to the ground and snapping his neck with a swift motion. She looks at me with wide eyes before turning her attention back to the fray. The battle rages on, but I notice something changing in Saraphina. Her movements become more erratic, her magic more volatile. The ring glows brighter, almost blindingly so. "Silvas!" she cries out as another wave of attackers rushes us. "I can't control it!" I fend off a dark elf warrior with a quick slice of my shadows and rush to her side. "You have to focus!" "I can't!" Her voice cracks with fear and frustration. "It's too much!" I see the desperation in her eyes and realize the ring's power is overwhelming her. She's losing control, and it's only a matter of time before it consumes her completely. "Saraphina," I say urgently, gripping her shoulders. "You have to let it go." "But trust me," I plead. "It's the only way." Her eyes search mine for a long moment before she nods reluctantly. "All right," she whispers, voice trembling. She closes her eyes, taking a deep breath. The ring's light intensifies, casting eerie shadows on the faces of our enemies. Her hands lift, palms facing outward, and a hum of raw power fills the air. The ground beneath us trembles as Saraphina channels the last of the ring's magic. A whirlwind of energy swirls around us, lifting debris and loose stones into the air. I can see the strain on her face, beads of sweat forming on her brow as she struggles to contain the power within. "Do it!" I urge her. "Now!" With a guttural cry, Saraphina releases the magic in a blinding burst of light and sound. The shockwave knocks me off my feet, sending me sprawling to the ground. I shield my eyes from the brilliance, feeling its searing heat even through closed lids. When the light fades, silence follows. I blink away spots in my vision and push myself up to survey the scene. Our enemies lie scattered across the ground, their bodies charred and lifeless. The Vraken with wings twitches once before going still. Dark elves smolder in crumpled heaps. The air reeks of burnt flesh. Saraphina stands in the center of it all, shoulders heaving with exertion. The ring's glow dims until it's nothing more than a dull glint on her finger. The silence stretches between us, heavy with the weight of what we've just endured. I stroke Saraphina's cheek with my thumb, marveling at her strength, her resilience. But there's something more we need to face. "Saraphina," I begin, my voice urgent. "There's a way for us to stay together, to face whatever comes next without this constant danger." Her eyes meet mine, curiosity and caution mingling in their depths. "What do you mean?" "I can turn you into a Vraken," I say, the words hanging in the air like a forbidden promise. "You'll gain our strengths, our immortality. We can be together, without fear." She takes a step back, wrapping her arms around herself as if trying to ward off the cold reality of my proposition. "Will it hurt?" "A little," I admit, "but I'll be with you every step of the way." Saraphina's gaze locks onto mine, searching for any sign of deceit or hesitation. Finding none, she takes a deep breath and nods. "All right," she whispers, her voice steady despite the fear flickering in her eyes. "Do it." I guide her into a nearby cave and lie her upon a smooth stone slab. "This might sting," I warn, leaning over her and brushing her hair away from her neck. "Just get on with it," she says, more bravely than she probably feels. With a final glance into her eyes, I sink my fangs into her neck. Her blood rushes into my mouth, warm and intoxicating. She gasps, but doesn't pull away. I drink deeply, feeling our bond solidify with each drop. Then I pull back and slice open my wrist with a sharp nail. The dark blood wells up, thick and potent with magic. "Drink," I command, holding my wrist to her lips. Saraphina hesitates only for a moment before closing her mouth around the wound and swallowing. A shudder runs through her body as the transformation begins. Her grip on my arm tightens painfully, but she doesn't let go. "It's almost over," I murmur, watching as her skin pales and her features sharpen with immortal beauty. Finally, she releases my wrist and falls back onto the stone slab, breathing heavily but alive. No, more than alive. She's Vraken.
Chapter 11. The Ring. Water swirls around me, cool and insistent. The current tugs, eager to claim me, yet I resist, sinking slowly into the riverbed. The weight of the world above muffles, transforming the chaos of battle into a distant hum. Darkness encroaches as silt rises, clouding my view, but I am not concerned. I have endured far worse. Ah, Saraphina. The memory of her touch lingers, warmth mingling with a desperate hope. She was different, her spirit fierce yet fragile. Her heart held a tempest, a blend of fire and vulnerability that breathed life into my ancient existence. She was not like the others who sought my power with greed and malice. No, she was driven by a longing for freedom, for something more than the chains that bound her. I recall the first moment she slipped me onto her finger. The rush of her latent magic surged through me, awakening long-dormant powers. Her eyes widened in shock and wonder as I transformed her, from a mere slave to a vision of beauty and power. I relished that moment, feeling her heartbeat quicken with newfound strength. Her joy was palpable, a beacon in the dark recesses of my consciousness. She was everything I had been waiting for, a vessel worthy of my power. But now, here I lie, amidst the cold embrace of the river. The battle above rages on, indifferent to my plight. Before Saraphina there were others. Each bearer left their mark on me, their essence etched into my core. Some sought power, others sought redemption or escape from their fates. And now, here in the river's embrace, I ponder Saraphina's journey. Her courage sparked something within me, a yearning for more than just being an instrument of power. With each pulse of her magic, she breathed life into my cold existence. We shared battles, secrets whispered in the dead of night, and moments where our fates seemed entwined beyond mere possession. Yet now she casts me away, deeming my power too dangerous. Perhaps she is right. But even as the river seeks to claim me, I feel an odd sense of contentment. Saraphina found herself through our bond, discovered strength she never knew she possessed. The water grows colder as I settle into the riverbed's embrace. Memories flicker like distant stars in the night sky, each bearer a constellation in the vast expanse of time. Saraphina, may your journey be as boundless as your spirit. The river's current claims me at last, pulling me from the silt's grasp with a relentless force. I tumble and twist, carried along as if by an unseen hand. Memories of Saraphina blur into a distant haze, replaced by the cold, insistent rush of water. Stones scrape against my surface, each impact a faint, almost nostalgic echo in my consciousness, reminding me of battles and secrets shared. Downstream I go, past reeds that sway like ghostly fingers and fish that dart away in surprise at my intrusion. The river widens, its banks stretching further apart until they vanish into the horizon, leaving me in a realm of fluidity and uncertainty. The gentle murmur of the forest fades, replaced by the growing roar of waves crashing against unseen shores. The river merges into the vast expanse of the ocean, casting me into a world of salt, endless blue, and boundless possibility. The sea is different, deeper, more ancient, holding secrets even I have yet to uncover. Currents shift and swirl, guiding me on an unpredictable path, as if the ocean itself has a plan for my journey. I sink into darkness once more, enveloped by the profound silence of the deep. Time loses its grip here. Days or centuries could pass unnoticed, each moment blending seamlessly into the next. In this abyss, I find a strange solace. Perhaps here, in the unfathomable depths, I will discover new stories, new bonds waiting to be forged. And yet, a part of me clings to the memory of Saraphina, hoping that our paths might cross again in this boundless world. Light pierces the gloom as a net descends from above. It sweeps me up with the plants and startled fish, the cold grip of the water replaced by the rough embrace of the net. Upwards I rise, breaking through the water's surface into the harsh glare of daylight. Voices reach me, gruff and guttural, orcish, echoing across the waves. "Got something shiny here," one voice says, excitement lacing his words. The anticipation in his tone is palpable. Rough hands sift through the net's contents, pulling me free from the tangled mess. I catch glimpses of green skin and tusks, an orc fishing vessel. They marvel at my surface, curiosity and greed warring in their eyes as they turn me over and over. "Let me see that," another voice demands, snatching me from the first pair of hands. The urgency in his voice betrays a deeper longing, a hunger for what I represent. I feel anticipation as he inspects me closer. His fingers are calloused but warm, pulsing with life and a raw, untamed energy. He hesitates for a moment, as if sensing the weight of what he holds, before slipping me onto his finger. A familiar surge of power awakens within me, mingling with his essence, intertwining our fates. His eyes widen in shock and wonder, much like Saraphina's did once, when she first discovered my secrets, when the world opened up to her in ways she never imagined. And thus begins another chapter in my endless journey, another soul entwined with mine, another story to unfold.
In a world of elves, demons, and liches.
What would you choose?
Power?
Or passion?
Would you stab the monster in the back?
Or take him to bed?
The Immersive Fantasy Audiobook Bundle has it all.
Go to worldsofprathika.com to get access.
Use code YouTube30 to get an additional 30% off.
Prathika's magic is eternal. Audio bundles will make it immersive.